So today's lecture, we are going to talk about chromosomes, our genetic material, which is present inside the nucleus. So when the cell is not dividing, then you see the chromosomes as long, thin, then they are known as chromatin. It's only when cells are preparing for cell division that your genetic material starts condensing. That means it becomes shorter and thicker. And it's only then that your genetic material will be known as chromosomes, and you can see the shape of the chromosomes at that time. Anytime else, it's long, thin, totally it's like a mess of, a lot of yarn together. So cytogenetics is that branch of science in which we study the genetics of a cell. Cyto means cell, genetics, you already know. So it is all about chromosomes and genes that are present in cell. We learn mainly about chromosomes, how they look, the structure of a particular chromosome, the structural abnormalities, numerical abnormalities, how chromosomal changes affect health, they affect heredity. So a chromosome is made up of the genetic material or the nucleic acid DNA and protein. You can distinguish one chromosome from another based on its size as well as its shape. Now, what does any general chromosome consist of? These are the parts of a chromosome. The ends of a chromosome are known as telomeres on both sides. These are made up of very darkly staining chromosome. Where the chromosome is maximally constricted, so the constricted area, this is known as centromere. For convenience, we usually show the centromere towards the center of the chromosome, but the centromere can be anywhere. It could be towards one of the ends also. So this constricted area is centromere. This one also has very darkly staining nucleic acid, and these darkly staining chromatin material is known as heterochromatin. The parts which are not darkly stained, those are known as euchromatin, okay? U means true. This is where most of your protein encoding genes would be here. This is the true genetic material. Now, based on the position of the centromere, if you see the centromere is not exactly in the middle of the chromosome, but towards one side, that makes one side of the chromosome shorter and the other side of the chromosome longer. So these short arms of the chromosomes are known as the P arms. So P stands for petite, while the long arm is known as Q arm. And we usually have most of, all of the chromosomes, human chromosomes have been mapped. And usually when we're talking about a gene, we give the location of the gene as 3q5.5. That means located on chromosome 3. If it is Q, that means long arm of chromosome 3, and then the map region. So as soon as you know 3q, that means chromosome 3, long arm, or 5p 17.7, that means chromosome number 5, short arm, and the location. And this is how a chromosome would look right before cell division. Why? Because from one single strand, it has become double-stranded, and these double strands are exact copies of each other. So they are known as sister chromatids. So if this is, let's say, chromosome number 3, so that means every individual, all of us, we have 3 of chromosome pair 3 because we have chromosomes existing in pairs, right? We are diploids. So we would have one chromosome 3, another chromosome 3, and right before cell division, each of these chromosome 3 would have 2 sister chromatids. And this chromosome 3 and the other chromosome 3 are homologous chromosomes. That means they are homologs. So heterochromatin, as I mentioned in the previous slide, stains darkly in the chromosome. And this is mainly made up of repetitive DNA. That means you see bases which are repeating, okay? It could be 2 bases, it could be 3 bases, it could be hundreds of bases. While euchromatin is mainly made up of the protein encoding genes. The telomeres, in where you see a lot of heterochromatin, these are actually repeats of TTAGGG, okay? So you would see TTAGGG, TTAGGG being repeated in the telomeres, and it is the telomeres that keep shortening each time the cell divides, and this is a trigger for the cell to stop dividing after a certain number of cell divisions. Every normal healthy cell has a lifespan, okay? Like this cell will stop dividing after it has divided over 50 times, or after it has divided over 125 times, or whatever. The cells that keep on dividing are abnormal cells, cancer cells, or we could have the, some other specialized cells in the body. For example, those related to reproduction, so the germ cells. So centromeres, which is the largest constriction, and this is important for cell division because Spindle fibers or your microtubules, they come and attach to the chromosomes right here. And when it is time for each chromosome to be pulled apart, that means in mitosis, when two sister chromatids separate, it is the two, it is the spindle fiber coming and attaching to the centromere and pulling these two sister chromatids apart. So in centromere also you have repeats, and these repeats are not just 2, 3, 4, or 10 bases that you and I can memorize. These are 171 base sequence that is being repeated. So 171 of that sequence, again 175, and so on. Subtelomere is the region which is a little bit further inside than the telomeres. This is between centromere and telomeres, could be as long as 300 and 1000 bases, okay? And of course, the subtelomeres contain 500 or more than this protein encoding genes. A lot of these genes could also include pseudogenes, that means coding for non-coding RNAs, ncRNAs. So this would be the telomere region, and all of this here would be subtelomere. You see in the telomere, this is the TTAGGG. So this, in this entire subtelomere region, the closer you get to the telomere, then you also start seeing that even in the subtelomere, you start seeing these repeats there. Karyotype is, we have seen this chart before. This is when you stain the chromosomes, and the staining technique has really evolved over the years. In a long time back, the chromosomes would be just stained in a single color, and then they have to be arranged manually based on their size. The largest would be chromosome pair 1, then the chromosome pair 2, chromosome pair 3. And then slowly the staining technique became more and more developed as technology developed. So then we started getting these banding patterns. And then it made it easier for us to pair the chromosomes, because now it was helped by the size as well as the banding pattern. So human beings, we have 23 pairs of chromosomes. But if somebody asks you how many types of chromosomes are present in human beings, then we have 24 types of chromosomes, because 22 are autosomes, and then 23rd pair, we can have 2 different types, X and Y. So that is why we have 24 types of chromosome, but number wise, we have 23 pairs or 46 chromosomes, okay? And these karyotypes are regularly made in clinical settings to diagnose any genetic abnormality, most common being Down syndrome. When a child is suspected, when an infant baby is born and is suspected to have Down syndrome, then you need cytogenetic analysis for confirmation. So based on the position of the centromere, we give different names to chromosomes. So this is a type of classification. If the centromere is at the tip, at the end, then that is known as a telocentric one. If the centromere is very close to the end, but still you see small arms of, so this is the P arm of the chromosome, then this kind of chromosome is known as acrocentric. If the centromeres are slightly off center, they're not exactly in the center, then they are sub-metacentric. If the centromere is more or less at the center, then it is metacentric. So meta, sub-meta, acro, and telocentric. How do we visualize chromosomes? Well, you have to do that, and this is not even very new technology. Geneticists have been looking at chromosomes for a long time, and even in your, if you were doing biology or genetics, you would be doing this in your undergraduate right now, extracting chromosomes from either the femur of the mice or from the plants, from onion, all of these. Now in human beings, for clinical purposes, for fetal tissue, in order to diagnose genetic abnormalities in prenatal condition, then fetal tissue can be used. And these are some of the techniques that are used to detect chromosomes in the fetuses. In adult human tissues, we can use white blood cells, because white blood cells contain DNA, or other cell types. A lot of cell types can be used to observe DNA. And these are usually, when you take out cells and then there's a process by which you make sure that the chromosomes are stable. So you're kind of fixing the chromosomes, and then you stain them with different dyes or DNA probes. So amniocentesis is one of the prenatal diagnostic procedure. This is usually carried during the 14th to 20th week of gestation, that means pregnancy, and it can detect fetal genetic abnormalities, okay? So usually an ultrasound probe is used to follow, and then this needle is inserted, and some of this fluid, in which there would be fetal cells that are suspended, is taken out, and then those cells are, the fluid and the cells are separated, and then from the cells, chromosomes are they are put on glass slides and they are observed under the microscope to make sure there are no chromosomal abnormalities. Another one, if you want to see even earlier than the previous procedure, then it is CVS, chorionic villus sampling, 10 to 12th week of pregnancy, okay? So this is where a small sample from the placenta is taken. This is when doctors are suspecting that there is a high likelihood of a genetic disorder, but this technique also has a higher risk of spontaneous abortion. Now, once the fluid or some sample is taken out from the fetal, there could be a mixture of maternal cells as well as fetal cells. So then we have to use methods by which we can differentiate, because we might be looking at the mother's chromosomes. If we cannot differentiate what is a maternal cell and what is a fetal cell, and the maternal chromosomes might be perfectly normal, so then that is an erroneous diagnosis. So we use this technique called FACS, fluorescence activated cell sorting. The instrument is a cell sorter, and in this technique we can identify different cell populations using the different markers that are sticking out, okay, the different proteins that are sticking out from the surface of those cell types. So the maternal cell would have a different population of markers on the outside, while the fetal cells would have different. Now, staining chromosomes, as I said, in karyotype, a long time ago, with the chromosomes were all stained in the same color, and then banding pattern came, banding techniques came. And nowadays, FISH method is used. FISH stands for fluorescence in situ hybridization, in which we use probes. Probes are something similar to, imagine small DNA molecules. So they would have complementary base pairing with DNA. So we will send some of those DNA bases that are complementary, and then those probes would have a dye or a fluorescence dye attached to it, which will give you a fluorescence signal. So for example, in order to diagnose Down syndrome, which is a trisomy of chromosome 21, that means in these individuals, the chromosome 21 is not present in a pair. In fact, there are 3 of chromosome 21. So instead of a pair, you see 3, triplet chromosome 21. So how do you confirm cytogenetically whether this baby that's born has Down syndrome? Of course, there are external features, but you simply use a DNA with a probe for chromosome 21 and a fluorescent dye. And in the cell, you see these 3 signals there. So you see 3 signals for chromosome 21 that is telling you that this individual has, you see these pink dots, that this individual, instead of having 2 chromosome 21s, has 3 chromosome 21s. That means this person, for sure, this baby has Down syndrome. This is the map of a chromosome called ideogram. So this is what I was saying when, let's say, if I say chromosome 7p21.3. So that means this is chromosome 7, this is the short arm or P, and then you see how the map is created, and then you go to 21.3. So if I say the gene of interest is located 7p21.3, you know exactly that the gene is right here. Now we move to abnormalities in chromosomes. Chromosomal abnormalities can be either an abnormality in the number of chromosomes, that is called numerical abnormality, or an abnormality in the structure. Now, please remember that of all the live births that occur in the world, there are more number of spontaneous abortions that occur, because women may not even realize, because some of the abortions happen very, very early on in pregnancy, and it is mostly because of chromosomal abnormalities. It's a miracle when a baby is born healthy with no chromosomal or genetic defect, because so many things can go wrong, right? So a lot of times a woman experiences a very early miscarriage, a very early spontaneous abortion, and she herself wouldn't be aware of it, because because she didn't even expect it, and it was too early for her to notice that she was pregnant. So let's start with chromosomal numerical abnormalities. One of the numerical abnormality is called a polyploidy. Polyploidy means when an individual has an extra entire chromosome set. That means we are diploid organisms. That means we have 2 of each chromosome, right? So we have 2 of chromosome 1, 2 of chromosome 2, 2 of chromosome 3. But what if an individual, by some mistake, happens to have 3 of each chromosome? Then that particular individual becomes triploid. So this person's karyotype would look like this. Instead of this person having 2 chromosome 1s, 2 chromosome 2s, 2 chromosome 3s, 2 chromosome 4s, now this person ends up having 3 of each. This is a triploid, okay? And this could be more. How do these individuals form? These individuals form when the fertilization is abnormal, okay? Something happens during the formation of gametes during meiosis. So either the sperm or the ovum was abnormal, and this could give rise to polyploidy. Now, aneuploidy is when the individual does not have an entire extra set, but somehow the chromosomal number is abnormal. So cells could have extra chromosome or missing chromosomes, okay? For example, I was just talking about Down syndrome where there is an extra 21 chromosome. So that individual does not have 3 of each. That individual simply has a 3 of chromosome number 21 only. So that is called a chromosome 21 trisomy. It is an aneuploidy. So all the rest of individuals who do not have polyploidy or who do not have aneuploidy, so genetically healthy individuals are known as euploid, okay? That means they have whatever is their usual set of chromosomes. For example, human beings as euploid, we are expected to have 2 of each, so we are diploid, okay? But if an individual has an extra chromosome, then that person becomes aneuploid. So what was this abnormality in gamete formation that can cause an individual to have extra, missing or additional chromosomes? This is called non-disjunction. Non-disjunction means inability to separate correctly. Now, if you remember from previous lectures, how gametes form is by a special type of division, meiosis. It's not mitosis. And in meiosis, we have a meiosis 1 and a meiosis 2. Right? Because meiosis is a very special division where chromosome number needs to get halved, reduced to a half. So in meiosis 1, there is separation of homologous chromosomes. And in meiosis 2, there is separation of sister chromatids. So let me show you this slide first. For convenience, we are just taking into consideration 2 chromosomes instead of all 46 chromosomes. So if this is the stem cell, in meiosis 1, we are starting. These 2 homologous chromosomes should separate like this. And then in a healthy individual, again, the chromosomes should separate. This is separation of sister chromatids. So this is what, it should look like in normal healthy individuals. But in case of non-disjunction, if you look at meiosis, if there's a non-disjunction in the second step, not in the first step, what happens is the first step is meiosis 1, where the 2 homologous chromosomes separate normal, perfect. This is how it should go. Now in meiosis 2, this chromosome separates into 2 sister chromatids. So this is perfectly normal. But look what happened here. This chromosome failed to separate. This is non-disjunction. And then when this cell divided into 2, both of the sister chromatids came into this one, and this one here does not have any chromatid here, okay? So now these are 4 different types of sperms that have been formed. Now when this sperm, let's say, it fertilizes a normal ovum, this is perfect, this is healthy. This sperm fertilizes a healthy ovum, again healthy. This sperm fertilizes a healthy ovum, this is not healthy because the sperm is missing the chromosome. So this is a monosomy, okay? This is a monosomic egg. And while this sperm, which is carrying 2 copies of this, let's say this chromosome number 21, when this sperm fertilizes an ovum, the ovum also gives the healthy chromosome 21, but the sperm brought 2. So now this individual will end up getting trisomy of chromosome 21 because it got 1 chromosome 21 from the mom, and there should have been 1 chromosome from the dad, but instead dad gave 2. So total 3 chromosome 21s. This is non-disjunction. This is abnormality. This would be a Down syndrome. Now let's look at, this was non-disjunction at this stage. What if non-disjunction happens even before? So if it happens in the meiosis stage, this cell was supposed to give 1 homologous chromosome here and the other one here, but the cell did not do that. There was a mistake. This cell did not get any homologous chromosome. This got both. Now, when this is dividing into these two sperms are not getting anything. Now, if these 2 sperms go on to fertilize, no, abnormal. While this one here, now is separating into this and this. These are also abnormal. So if non-disjunction occurred here, this would be even more dangerous than the other one. So this is how individuals end up getting abnormal number of chromosomes, mainly through non-disjunction. Now, if aneuploidy occurs during the process of reproduction, physiologically in the sperm and the ovum, then all the cells that will be formed from that sperm or the ovum are going to be aneuploid. But sometimes aneuploidy can also happen during mitosis. Okay, so skin cell was dividing, and then aneuploidy occurred. So in that individual, it's not that all the cells, all the tissues, and all the organs of this individual are abnormal, but some cells in this person's body are aneuploid. They are chromosomally abnormal. Okay, so this individual is known as a mosaic. Now, most of the times when chromosomal defects occur in individuals, nature does not want those chromosomal defects to be perpetuated, to be continued. So most of the times, chromosomal abnormalities result in that particular fetus getting aborted. Most common reason for miscarriages is a chromosomal defect, okay? And most of the chromosomal defects are fatal. Now, some very, very few chromosomal defects are still seen in live-born babies, but even those individuals, most of the times nature ensures that those individuals do not further spread that chromosomal abnormality. So most of those individuals are sterile, they're infertile, they cannot reproduce further, so that particular chromosome abnormality will end at that generation in that individual. So three of the most common trisomies are known as trisomy of chromosome 21, which is Down syndrome, trisomy of chromosome 18, which is Edward syndrome, and trisomy of chromosome 13, which is Pato syndrome. And you see the survival after birth. For these two, less than 5% will survive after 1 year. Usually they will die by 6 months of age. It is only the Down syndrome that has a high survival rate, and you still see individuals, reaching up to their adulthood, even though they have Down syndrome. So what does Down syndrome look like? You see this slide. This is trisomy 21. This is the most common trisomy among newborns. There is very, very distinctive facial and physical problems. Okay, there are learning difficulties, developmental difficulties, milestones are not reached, mental retardation, and these individuals are highly likely to develop blood cancer, leukemia, and also Alzheimer's. So mortality rate is very high. This is trisomy 18, Edward syndrome. Individuals will not survive after 1 year. You see some distinct features here. The fists, a fist is always very clenched, and there could be overlapping fingers. Ears are malformed, okay? The neck is short or almost absent. So this is also due to non-disjunction, serious mental and physical disabilities. Trisomy 13, Pato syndrome. A very common symptom is cleft lip. Here, again, malformed ears, polydactyly, that means more number of fingers, serious mental and physical disabilities. Okay, so this is trisomy 13. Individual will not survive after 1 year of age, Pato. Now, some sex-linked chromosomal disorders. What happens if the sex chromosomes are abnormal in number, numerical abnormality? First syndrome is called a Turner syndrome. Now remember, in case of human beings, as long as there is an X present, it's a female. But if any time a Y chromosome comes, then it becomes a male, okay? An individual might have 4 X's and just 1 Y would make this person a male. So Turner, you see no Y chromosome. It is an XO, means females in human beings are XX. But when we write XO, means the second X chromosome is missing here. There is no X chromosome. That means 0 X chromosome there. So 99% of individuals, if fetuses, if they have this syndrome, they would die. So abortion, spontaneous abortion. In case they are born, you would see a very short stature, and webbing at the back of the neck is a very common symptom of all chromosomal disorders. These individuals would be infertile, okay? And they are mostly deaf, impaired hearing. So this is Turner syndrome. Triplo X, XXX. This is the presence of an additional X chromosome. This female would be really tall, might have impact on intelligence. Other female features like menstrual cycle is again impacted, And here, in order to make this female functional, there would be 2 bar bodies. You know, in case of human beings, we have inactivation of 1 X chromosome, so you see 1 bar body. Klinefelter syndrome, XXY. Now, just because there's an extra Y, so this individual becomes a male, although this individual has 2 X chromosomes. Phenotypes means, although this is a male individual, but the male reproductive organs are very, very poorly developed. Okay, so testes and prostate are very rudimentary. Sexual development is not complete. The male is infertile. XXYY syndrome. So XXYY syndrome is a male individual, infertile. Usually doctors try to treat this person with testosterone. In addition to other behavioral problems, this individual would also have OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, AAD, attention deficit disorder. Jacobs, XYY syndrome. Jacob syndrome, the individual might look from outside, phenotypically normal, but they might have, some studies have suggested aggressive behavior. Some other studies oppose that. Some phenotypes might include these individuals may be really tall. There might be a problem with acne, speech, reading disabilities. So those were all numerical abnormalities or the problems, but still keep in mind, majority of disorders, chromosomal numerical disorders, the fetuses get spontaneously aborted. They will not be born. And you have seen even when they are born, they're all infertile. Okay? Now, chromosomal structural abnormalities. So in order to understand this, imagine this as a normal chromosome with a normal sequence of genes. This is the centromere. On this side, you have A, B, C, D, E, F, and on this side, you have G through N. So a deletion in the chromosome would look like this. That means the DEF part got deleted. A duplication means, let's say ABC, the DEF part is duplicated. Inversion means ABC, instead of the DEF, it got FED. So these are different structural abnormalities where a part of the chromosome can get deleted. You can add something, you can duplicate something, or you can make it in the reverse order. So a deletion, which you just saw in the figure below, if there is a deletion in the chromosome, a part of the genetic material is missing, it could give rise to a disease. Deletion of 5p. 5p means chromosome number 5, petite part. If that part is missing, then the individual gets a disease known as Cri-du-Chat syndrome, which is cat cry. That means when the baby is born, when the baby cries, it sounds like a cat is crying. That is a distinctive symptom of this disease. Duplications, when part of the chromosome gets duplicated, if it's a really small part, then there is tolerance for that duplication. But if it is really long segment, then there would have effect on the phenotype. Translocations means when there are 2 chromosomes, 2 non-homologous chromosomes, and they exchange parts, okay? And there are 2 types of translocations, 2 types of these exchanges. If you can see here, a Robertsonian translocation, let's see here. So this is Mrs. P, and this is her chromosome number 14. You see 2 blue ones and a normal chromosome, a pair of chromosome 14 and a pair of chromosome 21. And this is Mr. P. Mr. P should also have 2 normal blue and 2 normal pink, but instead what you see here is this 1 normal pink is here, 1 normal blue is here, and then 1 normal blue and 1 normal pink, the small arms were gotten rid of, and the 2 long arms of a blue and a pink, they got attached to each other. This is a translocated chromosome. This is a translocation, a Robertsonian translocation between chromosome 14 and 21. Chromosome 14 and 21 are not homologous to each other, right? This is a homologous pair. This is a homologous pair. But the exchange occurred between 114 and 121. This is a 14-21 translocation. So now Mr. P is a carrier of this translocation of this 14 and 21. And this chart gives you the different combinations from what the offspring can get from Mrs. P and what the offspring can get from Mr. P. And depending on what the offspring is getting from Mr. P, the offspring can end up getting Down syndrome, because Down syndrome, one reason is 21 chromosome trisomy, and another reason is a 14-21 translocation. This also gives rise to Down syndrome. Reciprocal translocation. Let's see here, reciprocal translocation. If this is one pair of homologous chromosome, you see the blue one, and this is another pair of homologous chromosome, the pink one. In reciprocal translocation, parts of these two exchanged. AB and then MN came from here, while KL was followed by CDE. This is how it looks under the microscope when we stain the chromosomes with, you see the translocation here, the translocation there. So this is a reciprocal translocation. In Robertsonian, they had to get rid of the short arms, right? And then translocate. Here, this is simply an exchange offer. Inversion is when a chromosome segment that gets flipped in orientation, and depending on whether the centromere is involved, it gets different names. So you see, this is a normal chromosome. This is the centromere. It has gene A, B, C on this side and gene D, E, F on this side. Now, the segments of the chromosome are getting inverted. If it is involving this centromere, the C came here and the D came there, then this is a pericentric inversion. But if the centromere was not involved and there was just an inversion here, then it becomes a paracentric inversion. Okay. Isochromosomes. Isochromosomes usually result when centromeres would divide along an incorrect plane. So if you see here in the middle, this X-shaped chromosome, this is a normal chromosome. This side is ABC, this side is DEFG. Now, if this chromosome were to divide, what is the normal plane of division? This one, vertically. So then it gets separated into its two sister chromatids. Each of it has ABC on this side and DEFG. But what happens if, by fluke, the chromosome, instead of dividing like this, divides like this? And what are the two abnormal chromatids that have formed? This becomes one, ABC, CBA, and then this becomes the other. So these are chromosomes with identical arms. They are known as isochromosomes. Ring chromosomes. What happens when the telomeres break? Okay, so you see the ends have broken. The ends were keeping the chromosomes from getting attracted and sticking together, because otherwise with the telomeres gone, the chromosome ends become sticky, and they come and they fuse, form a ring-like structure. This is what the chromosome looks like. Instead of this, it has now become this. Uniparental disomy. Uniparental disomy means inheritance of two chromosomes or chromosomal parts from the same parent. Okay, so instead of getting one chromosome from mom, one chromosome from dad, an individual ends up getting both the chromosomes from the same parent. And I have already shown you that in the in some of the previous slides examples. So we are done with today's lecture. Any questions for me? So I'll see you on Monday next week. That is the last week. And I guess by next week, you will start receiving emails for evaluation of your teaching assistant and for your professor. So please, keep your eyes open. When you see that email, try to send that feedback online, because it helps everybody to improve the class. It would help me to improve my teaching. It would help the teaching assistant also to improve. Okay, then I'll see you on Monday. Have a good weekend.